Bueno, what up, man? Everybody, welcome back to the South Star Classroom. I'm your co-host, Omar Anar. With me, as always, the prolific, the true, the real, the published Dr. Charles Cole III. Brother, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. I actually am working on getting something new published, so it's a
Mm.
long wait in academia, man. It sucks because you can't do nothing with that work up until you hear it. It could be 6 to 8 months. So, but hopefully it
Six
does
to
get
eight
published.
months.
It can be, man. It takes a while. So we'll see. But no, depends on the journal. How are you doing, brother?
I am feeling a bit better. I have been very exhausted, very burnt out, very tired from a very tumultuous school year, and some good personal things, but it just kind of adds to the stress. So I got a bit of a week off last week. I was actually in California near David's Hood, not necessarily David's Hood, up in the Anaheim. We took our niece over to Disneyland. Good times, man. It was her birthday on the 14th.
Nice.
And like, it's nice, man. It's like a good ass escape because
Okay.
like that park's just got like a ability to kind of get you out of your worries and your thoughts and all the things that are going on. And I had actually worked overtime during the week we were supposed to have off. So I needed that week just to kind of recalibrate, but I'm still recovering, man. We got the beard of knowledge and shit. David Castillo, welcome, man. How you doing, brother?
What's going on, Dave?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. That's why they call it the magical kingdom, Omar. Because
Is
it's
that
magic.
is that why they call it the Magic Kingdom?
Yeah, because it just takes you to another place, right?
Take me to another place.
Exactly.
To another thing.
Just take me
Yeah.
there. Looking forward to diving into this article and this topic today, but things are good. We call it Bandtober, right? So my son's in marching band this year, and every weekend there's like a competition. We've got our home competition coming up Saturday. It's like a full day, and it's cool, man. Like I haven't been around that many people in a while, and it's nice to be around like young kids that are focused on creating like positive experiences and energy through learning how to play in a band and all of the discipline and training and focus that comes along with it. So it's been a great learning opportunity, but it's no joke, man. It's like all hands on deck. And it's very time consuming, but we're here for it.
That's what's up.
Why do they not call it Rocktober? Is it because the band does not rock?
Their
You just
band
Rodney
rocks,
Dangerfield
but,
that? You're like, oh, I'll tell you what, I got no respect, huh?
Yeah, good no respect.
That's actually
yeah.
really good. That's a
Yeah.
really good Rodney Dangerfield.
I was
I thought I was watching Ladybug just now.
When I was born. No, what did he say? He's like, I was
It's a great.
I was so ugly when I was born. I came out. The doctor took one look at me and he slapped my mother. Oh.
These are some good Rodney Dangerfield. Who knew Rodney was gonna get some love today? I would take that.
Yeah,
I like
man,
Rodney.
Rodney
I love
getting the
Rodney.
love,
I
man.
love Rodney. Yeah.
And what's up,
I also
Bill?
love
We'll
the
see you in the
callback
comments,
to
Bill. Now, Bill,
Ladybugs, man.
we got to make sure Bill is like, Bill, we rock with you, Bill. Just make sure what you post is postable. That's you just be throwing us for a loop, Bill. It's just he loves to do it. Oh, NBA starts today. Michael, that means we get Michael Jordan's new segment today. I'm really interested in seeing that. I'm excited about that. So there's that.
Nice.
Hey, wait, Michael Jordan doing what?
So he has a segment on that. Now that the NBA's moved back to NBC, they wanted to make a splash. So they have Michael Jordan has a segment. I think it's going to be at either halftime or in between games. I think it's at halftime. We don't know what it's going to be. It might be similar to Kobe Bryant's detail or Peyton Manning's detail sessions where I think it's something around like Path to Greatness or something like that. So he's going to be breaking down either some film or some players. It's going to be interesting because, he never really talks to the public. So it's going to be, we really want to see how that goes.
That's cool. That's really cool, man. Yeah, fresh off of that. It wasn't 30 for 30. What was it called? The Last Dance?
Last Dance. Greatest. Oh man, it was great during the pandemic. Great TV right there.
Yeah,
LeBron
30
been trying to
by
create
30
his
is
own
good, too.
sense.
And as I make a terrible transition from great TV to books, as I make the transition so that I do not get scolded by Dr. Charles Cole for spending too long on the introduction. We're 20 minutes in and we still haven't gotten to the topic.
I don't know if I say those out loud. I think I send them in notes to you or whatever, but it's okay. We can do
No,
production
man,
notes live.
they are loud, man. We got them recorded.
We
It's
can do
just like
production notes live. They don't. The public doesn't know those are production notes. It's just with the banter, brother. There's an art to this, but it's okay.
I like the banter.
It's
It is
all
a
good.
production note. I am a novice, ladies and gentlemen, and need all the help that I can get. So, in that awkward transition over to literacy, so just to kind of set the table here, one of the major components that I've been focusing on personally this year with our schools is literacy. And I mean like crazy literacy, like audience, as in like, what does that mean, Omar? Like, are you just focusing on reading? I'm like, yeah, and every single subject, every single day. So imagine you're in high school and you are a ninth grader, 10th grader, 11th grader, and you're still reading at the third grade, fourth grade level. This is why you have kids dropping out. This is why you have kids channeling out and daydreaming, because regardless of the fact that they're smart enough to do the high level thinking, they're not able to access the material because the reading level is way off. Because ultimately it's very difficult to read something at the 9th, 10th grade level when you're at the 4th grade level. Then what happens? You start giving things at lower grade levels, reading levels don't go up. It becomes this disaster. What we've done at EPLA this year is focus in and say, not only are we doing a heavy literacy focus across obviously the data that we're working with English, but hey man, every class, every day, kids are going to be focusing on this literacy thing. So as I'm going nuts with this work at the school, and kids are literally focusing in on literacy work in PE, no lie, but straight up in PE, in art, in science, in math, everything is like consistently connected to reading. I read this report. And for those of you in the K through 12 space, you're probably familiar with NWEA. It's NWEA, right? Yeah.
You're muted.
Yeah, you're on mute, David.
Yeah, sorry, but the rap group from Compton, yes.
Yes, that is
Not
correct.
them
Well,
either, but
yeah, no, correct. But like, I think one of them cats was from Compton. Ice
I had
Cube
an extra
from South
extra
Central.
letter there.
Yeah, man. Maybe one of them was from Northridge. There is a testing group, ladies and gentlemen, called the NWEA, and they send out something called math testing. And in the charter world, this is like the Bible, and everyone in the charter world uses map data to kind of see the progression of their students. And, I think slowly but surely, school districts are finally adopting some of this testing. It's kind of become the norm of testing to look at math and literacy levels. And what they found is astonishing. And it's not astonishing, I think, to David and Doc and Jubilee and I, but I think to our audience, it might be. Essentially, since about 2013, so 12 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, all our literacy growth and math growth, according to map testing, has essentially stagnated and then plummeted. So we saw stagnation around, COVID 2000, well before COVID, 2007, 2008. That was like the market crisis. And then we saw this stagnation in 2013, well before COVID, and then just plummeting since 2013. And the literacy scores, particularly for kind of your lowest level students, meaning your bottom 10th% of students that are reading at some of the lowest levels age-wise, has plummeted. So much so that roughly 1/3 of middle schoolers and half of fourth graders read below basic levels, essentially erasing what was a high level of upward trajectory in the early 2000s of literacy growth. So this is to say, holy shit, literacy is at an all-time low. If I was quoting Black Dynamite, the game is at an all-time low, but this is real. And Chocolate Giddy Up is not here to help literacy scores in the community, ladies and gentlemen. So this gets to me, and I'm like, holy shit, like this is pretty big. What happened? And I think we postulate, and this is kind of where I want to just jump in with initial thoughts from David and Charles. When you saw this, what were kind of your initial thoughts? Because like I'll confess to you, my initial thoughts were, I think, pretty similar to some of the mainstream thinking of being like, oh, well, okay, from 2007 to 2025, you saw a massive uptick in smartphones. These kids are addicted to these phones. They're texting terribly. Their attention spans are that of a goldfish. This must be one of the reasons that we've seen this plummeting in reading scores. But just quick takes from both of you all. What were your initial thoughts?
The initial thoughts on the article or the data?
No, the initial thoughts as to like, yeah, like why in the hell did literacy go so low? Because like I jumped in and was like, damn.
I've been there though, right? Like I think for me, I don't have. I mean, I'll share a little more about what we're actually doing in energy converters right now because it's really cool, and we're actually applying the AERA for our fellows to present around their literacy agency work. But it's always been low. It's been low for Black kids since before I was an adult. And I think that usually if academics was a stock market, the people that looked at the trends that Black poor kids or Black or brown poor kids, the negative stuff, they would have bet on it and been billionaires. They would have shorted it because it usually tells you what's coming for the kids with money or the kids that are not Black or brown or native. So I think for me, there is no shock. I think more so it's like, oh, this is getting around to white people now. Not to be crass, but it's like it's like for me, it's like when I started to see opioid coverage happen, and then it was all like it was so much compassion, and that compassion was absolutely lacking when it was like crack. You know what I'm saying? So I actually am looking at this. None of this is new for me, but it made it to the Atlantic, and it's focused on kids of a different hue. So now people would pay attention to it. I don't want to have a super long-winded answer because I do want to actually talk about real work that we're doing around this stuff. But that's my initial reaction wasn't to the thing said. It was just like, oh, this is the equivalent of dogs ain't just biting the Black people that's marching with King. Oh, dogs is biting white people now. So we got this Bull Connor dude. It's crazy. That's how I'm looking at it.
So yeah, you're right, man. It jumped into the Atlantic, and I have a penchant for pulling things from the Atlantic. Very, I wouldn't just say highfalutin, but that is some like academia, college educated, usually like white leaning stuff, and that's why I was kind of like, oh damn, because this is everywhere. But then it hit the Atlantic, and that's kind of that point where exactly as Doc described. Oh, okay. This is now circulating in this group of intelligentsia with shit that we've known about for decades. But I was still kind of like, well, damn, I wonder what has caused this massive decrease for everybody. David, do you have like some initial thoughts, man? I was
and I am just I've used the NWEA like religiously. Years ago, when I was a school leader at Urban Montessori in Oakland, because we still didn't have like statewide testing at that time. It was still kind of very brand new. And so we're like, we need some information. We need data to inform how we teach, We need data to inform what kinds of interventions students are going to get and who those students are.
Right.
We need data not just to like understand how kids are doing, but to help them set goals around, I think it was like reading, language usage, and mathematics,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
So
Exactly.
very,
Yeah.
very like
Awesome.
fascinating. Like we did it 3 times a year. We did it in the fall as a diagnostic. We learned, we got learner profiles. We set goals. We did it again in the winter. We set goals, and then we did it again at the end of the year. So, you know, we were very like sophisticated with our ability to, me as the head of school, like I'm not teaching, but I had enough information and data for me to really understand how well the entire school was doing, how well grade levels were doing, how well certain subgroups were doing, and where we needed to move resources to, right? In the form of like intervention or small group instruction or whatever it might be, professional development. So I'm sold. So here's my answer to the question.
I'm sold
I
on
think
NWA. It's good.
I
It's
think
good.
two
That's
I
a good
think two
pitch.
things. Well, 3 things. Definitely like screen time. This thing that's happening with the brain, with attention span. You know, people are distracted. So it's like, yeah, I mean, that's doing something to the mind, not just of young people, but adults as well. That's one. I think there's very little accountability now. I mean, unless you're in the charter world, but you know, under No Child Left Behind, we actually had some pretty rigorous like accountability for public schools. And when No Child Left Behind was sunsetted, you know, nothing is kind of, you know, nothing has replaced it. And so I think districts where the majority of kids attend really lost focus on academics and on standards and on like on data. Okay. So now we're kind of back to this place where people are starting to like pick up this big trend that, you know, we're reading about in the Atlantic here. But I'll tell you, man, like, you know, even a lot of the charter schools that I work with, like, I don't see anybody doing data work and analysis and planning the way that we used to do it. I know some networks are doing it, but show me a school district that just doesn't give an NWEA or an iReady and then they walk away and they don't even look at the results, right?
Right.
I mean, and that really breaks down to like the level of the teacher, what Bill was talking about. Really, ultimately, it's about teachers, it's about subject teachers, it's about grade level teachers. Do they have the resources and the support to be able to do that work? Because otherwise you're just going off of grades. We have grade inflation, which has come up. I think our schools have definitely gotten soft around accountability. And so, you know, we got 12th graders graduating that can't even read.
Right. Right. And I think like for me, it was confusing to be like, I mean, I always just jump into like, what's the culprit? Because then I'm trying to figure out like, what's the culprit? What's the solution? And like you, I was like, I've turned into an old man. Like these damn phones and these damn
Welcome.
kids and the
Welcome to the
damn
club.
screen. And I was
Yeah.
like, when did I turn into like, you know, angry old man? And I thought that would have had a lot to do with it. I looked at COVID, you know, because we were deeply affected by COVID.
Mhm.
Families were, and we saw very stark losses during those few years, particularly when kids were not in school. So I blame that. I then blame the absenteeism that happened after COVID. Just kids not. We did several shows. I'm like, where the hell are these kids? They're not necessarily in charters. Some of them are in homeschool. A lot of them just ain't there. And you know, I didn't think about this, but the article got into, well, a lot of people would say it's money. We don't have the resources, we don't have the money. And the article is very quick to be like, actually, man, we're at record spending, 190 billion in federal COVID relief, which is interesting because the Atlantic made the comparison that 190 billion is exactly how much Trump is spending on all of his border efforts. And that's what was spent by the Biden administration for COVID. And I get it, man. If I'm Biden and I'm the national government, like, hey, this is what we do. But it sounds like states and districts really squandered that money and didn't use it for data, tutoring, high academics. You heard a lot about like, well, we're gonna replace our HVAC and all that stuff. So
There's a good comment here.
yes,
Jamel. I feel like COVID pushed tech too fast, and there hasn't been time for people to catch up. Exactly. I mean, all of a sudden, within 2 weeks' time, it was all tech all the time. That it had to be that way. I think probably for too long, but that's another podcast subject. But the tech has not gone away. It's like stayed with us, and I don't think we haven't invested enough in and around how to best use it to amplify the power and the voice of the teacher, as opposed to just giving something to distract kids or something like that. Because there's so much technology now in schools. It's kind of, even for somebody like me, it's overwhelming. Hello, Jubilee.
hi, Ju. Look how lovely her hair is.
Greetings.
Mike check. There you go. You came through loud and clear. Good to see you.
Yeah, after I feel like I took 6 minutes to unmute myself. How y'all doing? This is good combo.
Yeah, we're doing well. We're doing well.
Good to see you.
Likewise. Happy belated.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm happy to see my Omar Yanar. Omar.
Hi. I'm happy to see you.
I mean, show me a superintendent that has, other than you, Omar, but show me a district superintendent that has actual academic outcomes written in to their employment contract.
Yeah, I would hope somebody does. I don't know. It's not publicized if it is, but I would hope somebody does.
Unions.
You said what?
The damn unions. If you work in a place where unions ain't running it, then you good. That's why I chose to be principal of a charter school, because I need to be able to make decisions and hold people accountable, right? And reward people or whatever it is without somebody stepping in and being like, oh my God, no, because we don't allow it in any other profession, right? But like if you're on the traditional public side where you have bargaining, agreement units, it's really hard to have that level of accountability. And then if you have somebody who's in poor performance, to get them out,
forget about it. About it.
Right. So
I get the point that the guest made, that Jamel made. I don't fully disagree, and I get where you were coming in, David. But again, I just don't want to give the easy out, right? That's how I feel about the money conversation. We can pump a bunch of money in, but there's structural problems that are going to continue to make sure these are problems. I get y'all on the technology, but this was an issue before COVID. Long before COVID, those Black kids, poor kids, brown kids, Native kids still could not read. And so one of the things that we tried to do is we're trying to build agency directly with the end user. So we have a cohort of young people at a charter school in Oakland, and we're in concert with the principal. What they're doing right now is that they've been tasked. They have to go talk to 2 teachers. They have to go talk to their English teacher and get their reading grade level, meaning if you're at grade level or if you're at proficiency. If you're not at proficiency, what's my personalized plan? If I'm at proficiency, what's the plan to give me the mastery? And if I'm at mastery, who can I tutor in my class to help them get there? Then they got to go do the same thing for another STEM class, so math or science, because they're learning that their proficiency and their grade are not the same thing. There's a grade inflation problem. And what happened when all these schools were getting all that shit around, from Oakland had to deal with the Office of Civil Rights around Black kids getting suspended and then not graduating. So you know what they did? They said, okay, cool. We're going to do in-school suspension so it doesn't go on the books in the same way. So kids are still getting suspended. They're just in-school suspended. And then we're just going to inflate grades. Like, equitable grading is bullshit. It's not listen, man. Like, we have to make sure like we're not doing our young people favors by lowering the standard of what learning and literacy and those things are. I know it's making adults feel good in the moment. It's making those teachers feel good in the moment because they're afraid to have these conversations. So the only people that don't like our plan are bad teachers. And what our principal has instructed the kids to do is if you go to a teacher and they can't get you your reading level or proficiency level in 2 weeks, then you need to come tell me, because that's their job. That's their job to assess and build a plan. And I think that like it's hard reading stuff like this because it's a good article and it makes sense, but it only feels like it matters if white kids are impacted. And I don't want to turn it into that thing, but Omar Yanar or Charles Cole could have wrote this article word for word, bar for bar, but around black or brown kids from a few years ago, and it wouldn't get the run. It would not get
20 years ago.
Well, I'm looking at this article now and some of the data.
The article's good. Shocking. The article is really good. I want to make sure I'm saying
I would say this. What if? Mm-hmm. So now it's in the Atlantic, right? People are talking about it on Fox News, on I think even like education has been more at the forefront of the national dialogue too in Washington more than it ever has been. People are talking about it and it's a problem. So what if, and I agree with you, it's always been a problem for our people. Right. What if we get to a point where, it maybe pisses off the wrong subgroup, right? That has power and access and privilege, and they actually do something about it that benefits all kids, right?
Because I don't think it'll benefit all kids. That's what I'm saying. I think that they'll build something that benefits the kids that they care about. I think that the same way when opioids got, like that, but that's what I'm saying, right? Like when opioids started to be cared about, and now, oh my God, senators' kids are ODing on these pills. You know what I'm saying? We found compassion. The damage has been done. The damage has already been done to these tons of families and tons of people. I don't want to be the pessimistic guy. I actually agree with what you're saying, David. Maybe this tide will lift all boats. Maybe these things will happen, but the correction won't be about all these other people. It'll be about that group. Middle America, white kids can't read. And we got to make sure white kids can read. And I think that, and white kids should be able to read. It is a travesty that they can't read either. It's a tragedy that 1 out of 4 of them are reading on grade level 2. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just saying, because I don't want to be tit for tat. But as somebody who's been yelling about this stuff for so long and trying to get people to care, to like where we're teaching kids, just listen to what I'm saying. We're training 22 students to go out and like, first off, they had to learn about this stuff and they were pissed. They were pissed. They felt so betrayed. And then their job after this is I'm putting it on these kids with them that they now have to teach the rest of their school and classmates and parents how to go and think the same way. Our proposal to the school, which I think we'll get, is to alter the report card now to have grades and next to it have proficiency levels for STEM classes and for reading classes. Like, we got to get you the information some kind of way. So you're not wrong. I think what you're saying is right, David. And I don't want to be the person that's hung up on this. But I do have to stress it, and maybe because I just did a show on this like last week too. Like I'm still kind of on fire for it, but I do like the article. I really do like the article.
I want to jump to you because I kind of want to let you take the cat out of the bag, Doc, because you did do a show on this last week. But just kind of going back to a comment Julie made about, hey, man, this is why I like charter schools. Mm-hmm. Here's something that I did find interesting from the article. Quote, the political implications are uncomfortable. I was like, ooh, I like reading that. So check this out. Red states outperforming blue states, which to me, I found to be like, holy shit, that is kind of an eye-popping eye-opener. That's pretty unusual. Massachusetts, California, Oregon, Washington, these states that are typically blue, typically greatly outperform Oklahoma, Mississippi, and we'll get into Mississippi in a second, man. But despite lower funding and weaker unions, these places are outperforming a lot of the blue states. And it's just what Doc said, like things like merit-based pay, charter expansion, phonics instruction, they're remaining contentious, but a lot of these red states are getting into it. This is just a quick aside. I would, and I say this a lot, I would be very dubious about anyone's pay tied directly to academic gains, because what we found in Atlanta, what we found across the country is that oftentimes it leads to like cheating. And what I would suggest is, how do you get around that? My pay is directly tied to student retention, student recruitment, teacher retention. If we are doing well by kids, we're going to like keep those kids. They're going to want to stay because we're holding kids accountable to high academic standards. That's how I tie my pay, principals pay, directly into those standards. But I think you're right. Where in the hell in the country is anyone else in the country putting their money where their mouth is? And Doc, I kind of want to let let the cat out of the bag. So we're seeing red states outperform blue. We're seeing things like charter expansion, merit-based pay actually working. We can't blame the money. We can't blame the phones. We can't blame the absenteeism, and we can't blame the COVID. So if you want to let the cat out of the bag, what is happening? Because you just did a show on it. Why the hell do we score so damn low?
Yeah, well, one is union. So it depends on how you look at schools and school district, right? If you look at school district as hubs to educate young people and make sure that we have a civilization that's smart and all that stuff, then you operate differently. But if you look at districts as a financial premier hub of cities, then it's a very different operation, especially when you have the second, arguably the first, but it's this 1 and 2 strongest union body in the country. Like it's one of the strongest unions, and it's a workers' rights program at this point. It is a promised job. It is a job. It's job protection for those that can afford to be in education, and that's why you don't really rock this boat, because we're not staking our claim or our success on how well kids are learning. But we are. But in Oakland, OUSD is the second largest job provider behind Kaiser Permanente. In Chicago, Chicago Public Schools is a top 3 job provider in the city, if not number 1. Like it is a epicenter, and I think people forget that. And there's contracts that come with that. There's millions of dollars of who cuts grass, who brings in food, who does this. Like, so we're not going to stop that train. And again, when we talk about these unions, and I'm a big union advocate in most cases, but in this case, the parents and students need a union. Students need a union. What if students were able to walk out, or families were able to walk out on 20th day of 21-day count, to just be like, you can't, we like that. Look, our friend, my Oakland Reach sued the state for millions of dollars, and they won because this education malpractice is happening. And it does not matter when those kids look a certain way and they look a certain hue, and they will keep letting you falsely say, well, if we just had more money, if it just wasn't for the phones. Kids wasn't reading before phones became a thing. When I worked at the district, David was around, like, we pumped in extra money into what we call the red schools. Those were schools that were black and brown that were failing at the bottom. We gave them more money. We prioritized the best staff go there. And we tried to even build in incentives, like you talked about, Omar, to make sure kids were learning, to make sure that educators were competitive and wanting those spots.
The
fucking union killed it before we could get it out the door. And
yeah,
so I'll just stop there. I can go off when it's so bad. Yeah, so let me contain myself.
They're like, we're not gonna reward schools or people for going above and beyond and demonstrating actual positive results for kids. We're not gonna do that, right? We're not gonna allow for that. So I think that point of the connection between the states where we're seeing growth, like Mississippi, there's something really happening there. We should talk about that in a future show. But there's definitely a connection between, I don't know if there's a connection with, I don't know if the red states get fewer dollars. I'm not sure, but
they do.
But more lax.
It's just a byproduct of taxation and the economy, right? So New Mexico, a blue state, gets very few dollars for education ultimately because their economy just isn't that great. Marijuana has led to an increase in education spending there, but that's why.
But I think the point is having more lax and weaker collective bargaining rules in those states is definitely a major factor around that allows school districts to actually do the work, right? I mean, it just is, and so it's it's fascinating to think about how. And I'm also a big union supporter, but I think like if you're in an auto trade union, right? You take deep pride in like the cars that you make, right? If you are an electrician, you take great pride in in not having any like safety incidents, and actually doing great work and
100
taking
days,
pride in
no
your work.
accidents.
Yeah, but like when it comes to education, man, it's like show me a big union in New York, Chicago, Oakland, LA that takes pride in the work that they're doing as demonstrated by actual academic outcomes.
Bruh.
Yeah, I mean, yo,
Private schools
you're
do
not,
it. Private schools
yeah,
do it
exactly.
all the time.
Yeah,
Get
man.
your bumper sticker right here. And
Yep.
the rich dad be like, we're gonna put that on mommy's car. But my son is a scholar at St. Catherine's Christian School. that's how that goes. I didn't mean to cut you off. Oh, some
No,
schools
man,
do it.
absolutely. And like, hey, man, a lot of schools, like your prep schools, where a lot of like rich elite kids are going, it's all about like how many kids did we get into the Ivies this year? How many kids did we get into Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Penn, all these places, man? And honestly, I think there were two comments, and then I want to jump into the questions that I want to pinpoint, because I was like, oh shit, like that was an epiphany comment, man. One, I love this. I couldn't stress this enough. The school districts really as a jobs program. You're right. School districts do high level of employment, don't want to rock the boat because so many people's jobs in these communities are tied directly to the school district. And it often becomes a jobs program as opposed to like, what are we doing to actually, I don't know, cut all this other stuff that doesn't need to be there and focus in on the academic component. And it's like, yeah, people reading the Atlantic, well, they're sending these kids to prestigious private schools where they're doing that. So they ain't even tenants of the public school system. It makes for this disparity of when does this affect a population, like Charles said, that gets it pissed off because Black and brown kids have been dealing with this for decades at this point. The second one was like, I almost want to do a whole show on like, what if students striked? Like that's such a badass idea and proposition. Because for our audience, if you don't know, school money is directly tied to attendance. So as a superintendent, I do not get paid unless a student physically shows up. So even though they're enrolled in the school, if they're not there, we don't receive that money. And that is a huge coding situation that we deal with the state of Texas that is highly scrutinized because that's how a lot of school districts commit fraud. They'll misreport attendance. And a lot of them do in order to get that money. But it'd be fascinating to be like, what happens if all these kids just strike 50,000 kids out of a district for 30 days? I guarantee you things would change dramatically, but damn, that's a great postulate. I'd love to have a conversation about that. But I think this boils down to, and what I found to be interesting about the article is the low expectations theory. And it kind of busts into our first question, from excellence to equity. So what the article suggests, and this is what Jubilee, David, Dr. Charles Cole, and I have been screaming, I think, since we started this podcast, is where's the data, where's the high expectations, where are we getting back to literacy work? And what this article is saying is like, oh, the four of you all have been right this whole time. It ain't the phones, it ain't COVID, it ain't the lack of money, it is the massive lowering of expectations since the early 2000s, which you can tie almost a direct correlation with No Child Left Behind and the elimination of that. And that is what is causing these huge gaps in literacy. Now, interestingly enough, the top 10% of kids haven't changed at all. Those are typically if you want to boil that down, your top 10% of kids typically have some level of like affluence, probably white, two-parent homes, stuff like that. I could probably damn guarantee you that that's the situation. A lot of black and brown kids at that bottom, and we're the ones who have suffered the greatest losses. And what the article stated is essentially those losses could lead to about $90 trillion in future GDP, which is an impressive level. So just want to kind of get to this question because I think it's a bit fun and a bit controversial. And I'd love our audience to chime in on this. So have America's efforts to promote equity in education unintentionally lowered expectations? And if so, how can we restore rigor without abandoning compassion? So I'll restate it, man. The move towards equity, has it unintentionally lowered expectations? And if so, how do we restore that rigor without abandoning the compassion that we've had for students over the last decade?
Here we go, attacking equity again.
Yeah,
Like
straight up.
I mean, what the hell does that have to do with anything? Like, you're saying you have two students and they need different things to get to the goal, but the goal is the goal. So we're saying, all right, we're not going to change the goal, but we're going to give you the scaffold that you need so that you can get to the goal. I'm not giving you the answers, right? I'm not coddling you. I'm just giving you a support, right? Like, we wouldn't get mad at somebody who needed a walker or a wheelchair, right? We wouldn't be like, what do you need that get up and walk like everyone else? No, the finish line is the finish line. The goal is the goal. We as educators are responsible for providing you with the support you need, right? Not as enablers, right? Or coddlers, right? But the supports that you need so that you can finish strong, right? The goal is the same. These are the third grade standards. These are the 11th grade standards. This is what a college ready student sounds like. This is what they're able to read. This is the kind of math that they're able to do, right? So if you need, more time on testing or a quiet environment, headphones or sunglasses, because you don't want to see anyone when you're taking your test, or you need more peer discussion or whatever it is, then why would we withhold that, right? Like, let's stop treating equity like it's such a dirty word, right? And I think also there's like 11,000 different definitions, for equity.
Yes.
Yes.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
But I'm talking about equity when you have 30 kids in your classroom, right? And you understand who is sitting in front of you, right? Even though I'm in leadership all these years, I'm always going to be a teacher. Do you know who's sitting in your classroom and what all of those students in your classroom need? Why? Because if you don't, you will look at the student that's doing all this. Oh, IEP, black boy, IEP, right? He can't sit still. He can't do this. Let me write him up. Oh, she's over here. She never raises her hand in science. She probably don't know what's going on. No way she know. No, you're looking at every single student and figuring out what they need, whether it's through scaffolding, differentiation, whatever it is, right? You meet your students where they are. And to me, that is how you are providing an equitable environment, because you understand where they are and you are giving them what they need to get where they need to go.
So I agree with the notion, and I would say true equity should not. I think performative equity and what we've done, yes. And because what Jubilee said is, and the standard doesn't change, in the way that these people have been doing it, it does. I can give you a real example. A real example is me and Dirk Tillotson created this thing called Dump the D. And it was really just an early warning system to let parents in California know that, hey, a D is worse than getting an F in California high schools because of reasons X, Y, and Z. We should communicate with parents openly earlier so they can get that up to a C, or know that they need to take that class over, whatever. We get it to the district level. And what the district did in the name of equity is that many schools just stopped giving out Ds. They just wouldn't give a kid a D. So, and that was done in the name of equity. So I think performative equity in a lot of ways absolutely has, because the standard does change. A few years before that, when I worked at the district, there was an active movement and protest across the country perpetuated by the teachers union, the opt-out. saying that we will not make our kids test because these standards are racist and they're not equitable. So by the actual definition of what Jubilee said, no, equity should not be a problem. It actually should raise all boats. I just did a training with 45 parents, 50 parents in Nashville, and it was about the difference in IEPs and 504s because they just truly did not know. One is modification and one is changing the standard, right? Understanding what those were. So I agree with everything you said, Jubilee, but there are bad actors, and that's part of the reason that a lot of this equity stuff, racism is a big one too. But there's also some facts in there where people have like mistreated and misused that word. Chris Stewart says this all the time. I want to give him his credit. He says black kids are the new cotton, meaning there's so much value in a broken black child or a broken Mexican or brown child. Because think about it, when a kid got ADHD, there's the pharmaceutical company that's making money. The interventionist is making money. There's Title I funds that's coming in and doing this. And then when we actually say money is the issue and we brought in all this COVID money, they didn't even use it on grade recovery or on learning loss recovery. They used it on facilities. They used it on other things that they couldn't get done before, none of which was positively impacting those young people. So Jubilee, I actually 1000% agree with you. I'm just saying that there are some bad actors and people like David do call them out. And that's why we get harassed and all kind of stuff by the unions, right? They come at us by name because we're trying to interrupt that stuff.
Yeah, so because we should not call that equity. Like that, what you just described.
When you step up and say it, when you step up and say it, they paint you as a Trumper. They paint you as a red person. They did this in Oakland. They did this to Lauren Taylor in Oakland. All Lauren said was that he wanted to clean up Oakland and do this and make sure crime. The next day, they called him the biggest Trump supporter. Lauren don't even like Donald Trump. But that's what happens. There are certain listen. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I was feeling it. Go, David. But
I agree. I mean, I think like
having an Omar moment. Omar, I miss your rant.
I think doing real equity work is very challenging, and it requires a lot of discipline. And when it's done well, it should be rigorous for everyone involved.
Absolutely.
Thinking about students, but the way that that equity has been kind of I don't know, hijacked is the right word, or co-opted. It is definitely like lowered standards across the board. That's not equity work. Equity work is like figuring out where your students are at. What are they coming into the classroom with? And then, it's like if you have a third grader that's reading at a first grade level, you're not going to expect them to read at end of year, third grade level by the time they get there. You can set like a second grade level target. But you measure, going back to like the NWEA assessment, you have to measure. So there's two things in education that we talk about, and this is what really tripped up Betsy DeVos. There's growth and there's proficiency.
Yeah.
Right. So
that was students, a funny. That was funny. Yes. Yeah. That was
so let me get back to you on that. Yeah. There is students are where they are. In terms of like proficiency, every sixth grader is not going to be like sixth grade level proficient on every in every subject. They might be advanced in some, they might be below grade level, but there's nothing that stops us. And true equity work means actually doing the work of setting standards for young people, setting growth targets, right? Here's what we expect you to do this year, Jubilee or Omar or Charles. And I mean, that work is just not happening in schools. I mean, I remember the one of the reports that we would pull out from the NWEA was like this axis, right? Y-X graph axis that, showed students that were high growth and high proficiency. Well, those kids are probably okay. We would focus on students that were demonstrating low proficiency and also low growth. That's where we pulled our resources, right? So Omar, you have a class of 30. We're gonna need to come up with an action plan for these 7 kids. That's your work, your specific work. And we're gonna help you with it. We're gonna bring the parents in and we're gonna create intervention plans for these kids, and it works over time, but you have to be disciplined. That's real equity work, not like lowering the bars so that, you know, people don't have to feel bad because they're like high achievers. You know, we're going to lower the bar, or we're going to take out the AP classes because not everybody can access them. Well, why don't you work to make sure that kids can access them?
More
right?
kids can access them. Exactly.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Differentiate,
Exactly.
right? Like that's what you're describing is differentiation, right? Which is actually very complex, right? Not easy to do. And if we don't have teachers who can, and I love teachers, but I don't think that we have many, many well-trained teachers. And that's going to take me all the way back to the universities and the teacher prep programs there. So I won't go down the rabbit hole. But if our teachers are struggling right now, right, to put together a simple lesson plan with a clear objective connected to a clear standard, with a clear hook, a clear teach, right? Whatever that direct instruction. Bill said tier 1 instruction. That'll catch most of your kids. We're talking about tier 1 instruction. Today we are learning about Omar's hair. What are we learning about? Omar's hair connected to this standard.
It's
Going to
got too much dye.
It's
yes,
magical.
I'm going to model whatever it is. Okay, now you do, like, just that basic thing, premise, our teachers are struggling with, right? Then differentiation, right, which will provide equity in the classroom because everyone's getting what they need. The teacher has to know how to take all the things that the students are bringing, right, ups, downs, and then figure out how to teach to their level while still getting them to the same end goal. Like, that is complex, right? Sometimes you don't even become really good at that until you've been in the classroom a few years, right? And lastly, I'll say also, equity really is a systemic thing, right? It's supposed to be, right? Something that starts at as high as a superintendent, right? Maybe let's go to the state level, right? And then go to a granular level in the classroom, right? Where we're able to answer questions as, why are so many Black boys and Black children in the SPED population? Like, what's up with that? Like, let's look at these implicit biases. Let's have these real conversations around why we are only marketing STEM to boys, right?
I hate that our show is only an hour. I hate that it's only an hour and that you came late, Jules, because I love what you're saying. But this is why, again, how much longer do we wait for that? Since Brown versus Board is not. That's why agent, kid, and parent. This is what a good classroom is. Hey, man, that A does not mean you're proficient. What does proficiency? Proficiency means This is where your levels are. You have to get the user in the game. You have to get, when you're at a 5-star restaurant and people that used to eat in 5-star restaurants are in there and shit's not up to par, they send it back. They like, this steak, I ordered medium rare. This shit is a Frisbee. Take it back. So we have to teach our kids and our parents how to send shit back, because my mom, who's not an educator, the boy got an A. He didn't get his name on the board. He's doing great. Why would she think? Why would she have to think? It's not intuitive to be like, well, is he on grade level? He got a fucking A. So we can't, and this is why we've trained those students and their parents. If you go to that teacher and they don't get you that or that plan, and they're not communicating with you 2 weeks, then you need to take your ass to the principal's office and tell them, because good principals and good teachers want a more informed user base. Bad teachers is gonna hate this shit. Bad teachers are not gonna like it, and because they gotta work. And you ain't got to do it all by yourself.
Their asses to the rafters.
Yeah, and you ain't got to
send their asses to the rafters.
High school basketball teams should not be better at doing this than schools and teachers. What I mean is, when I play ball, if somebody was overweight, there's a group of people where we got to work on fitness. If the point guards was messing up, we got point guards over here. Everybody's doing walkthrough. Everybody got to do walkthrough on the plays. But then there's specialty time, where it's like our centers are not we got out rebounded by 15 rebounds last week. You know what all you tall motherfuckers about to go do? You about to go over there and jump up and down and do rebound drills.
Period.
But this is what I'm saying. And you know why? Because the standard in basketball and football and baseball is winning. That's the standard. The standard in education is to make sure middle-class people keep their fucking jobs. So there's no problem. There is no urgency, and the urgency is happening now because we're starting to see kids that's not supposed to be behind.
But that should never impact us. Like we should have always been on this and stayed with this high level of urgency because there
was a time before this thing called Brown versus Board where there was like black teachers all over and they were respected and it was great. And then in the name of equity, Brown v. Board happens, and what happens the next year is the decimation of the black teacher, which has never recovered.
But wait. Okay, I hear what you're saying there, but I'm talking about the level of urgency and care that we just have as Black and brown people, as Black and brown parents, grandparents, cousins, and them, whatever we are, right? No, understanding that we're not giving our power away, right, to a school district. Like I'm talking about, can we bring that back? When I was principal, like I'm letting parents know, and my parents knew, depending on where I was serving. When I was serving where I grew up, parents didn't necessarily ask for this information. Where I led as a principal, people be like, "What's their certification?" We know that this is public. This is public information. Is this teacher certified? What are they certified in? Or they like why? I think that level of urgency is something that we should never give away, or the power that we had to demand certain outcomes from the school district, from the school period. But I think instead, and again, this is probably research and other factors that we don't have time to discuss, right? People just drop the kid off. I'm just dropping Harry off. I think the school is going to do what the school is doing. Then Harry gets to 5th grade and he can't read his damn alphabet. But we trusted the school. I'm saying, what happened to that? Brown versus Board of Education happened. But when do we give away our power? When do we give away our agency to say, no, you're going to teach my baby? I don't know what that's like. Like as an adult right now, if I go to school and I tell my parents I'm having a problem with a teacher, they're gonna be like, what's their number? What's their email?
Yeah, but they don't. I mean, I know we got to end. I'm sorry, because I think you're asking great questions. But again, this is our profession. If your kid's coming home with a 4.0, you're not thinking like that. Your kids, listen, the same way somebody has to tell you don't put water on a grease fire. You're not a fireman. Like somebody that does fires will say, yo, don't do that, right? Like you don't know what tier 1 teaching is. If you're you don't know what a good classroom looks like. Like if you're a regular parent not working in education, somebody has to teach you that. And we're already asking these kids and these parents to carry extra water. Listen, I know what I do in my job is not fair to the kids and families that I serve. But I'm working on survival. I'm not working on fairness. I'm not working on equity. I'm not working on this fake equity that these people have abused and abandoned, which have left people that look like all 4 of us in the fucking lurch. Like it's not fair that I have to ask you to go and talk to all your teachers and get your proficiency, but you got to do it. Omar David, this is a great topic, man. I'm really frustrated. That's why I have another show where I can talk for 4 hours. Okay, it's not the other show is 30. It doesn't go that long, but
I love it, man. Well, dude, this was badass. And I really quickly before I forget, I just got to give Jubilee her flowers. So good to see you. Such lovely air. But let me tell you, her definition
black
of
and white,
equity should be imprinted in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, because my biggest sadness, my lament, Jubilee, is that your definition of equity should be the standard bearer of what equity looks like. And Doc has done a very good job of exemplifying how people have completely misconstrued that word and done things in the name of equity, as has David, that I think completely separates from that idea of what are the supports that we're providing so that we get everybody to that finish line, as you really eloquently said. We are on last comments, ladies and gentlemen, because we're at the 59 mark. So any last comments and final thoughts from you all?
Look, Doc, let's do an Agency for Parents special live webinar workshop for families. Yes. Let's do South Star Classroom, something like that, a special version of it, because to me that's the key. I think this solution that we're all talking about is it needs a comprehensive response, right? So we're like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Who do we blame? The teachers union, the teachers, the principal, the superintendent, the kids, the parents, the community, the drug addicts? Who do we point the finger at? And it's always multiple directions. And if we're going to do anything, I did see you all mention the Mississippi Miracle, right? and who knows where they are now, right? But that was a comprehensive approach. That's what happens, or what can happen, when you have alignment with all the stakeholders that have a say so on what happens in schools, from the state level all the way down to the school level.
Yeah.
And so that means it's replicable. It can happen. Does it have cons? Absolutely. Is it sustainable? We don't know. But the point is, anytime we've ever moved the needle in anything, it takes a comprehensive approach from all the stakeholders. You need alignment. You need alignment, right? We have seen this. It's not just in education. It's in any sector that we look in. If they're having big wins and experiencing any sort of acceleration or promotion in anything, it has to do with alignment. And multiple people coming from multiple sides saying, this is what we are doing together. We already had the answers for this. We already knew this whole language. You got to start early with the babies. You got to teach them their phonics. They got to be phonemically aware. Like, you got to use manipulatives in math. They got to be able to connect the concrete to the abstract. We already knew this, but for whatever reason, we're not doing it. So that's that. I think we should do something practical with this, and maybe reach out to families to help them understand what they need to look for in their child's classroom. Final thought.
You threw me back to my Montessori days with your concrete to the abstract statement. That's what it was all about. I mean, I think for me, like high level, and maybe where this piece is getting to is, we talk about, I'm not even talking about the young people that end up incarcerated, or dead, or on drugs, or whatever. The vast majority of young people that go through school without developing proper literacy skills, right? They have fewer job opportunities, and those jobs that they get, lower pay. They face more financial hardship through the duration of their life, right? They're more vulnerable to misinformation. Think about what's happening right now in this country, right? The erosion of civic trust and general understanding of politics, right? People just don't understand it. That stems from literacy issues, right? Makes it harder to manage health. Also, there's real health outcomes that are connected here.
Yeah.
As well as education, just daily life. And a lot of this stuff is generational. Goes from generation to generation to generation, right? But overall, I mean, I think you mentioned it earlier, Omar. It has a massive negative impact and will on our economy and on our national security. So if you care about that, maybe pay attention.
Got you. I'll go last. I want to
just share. Yeah, I do. I was about to say I want you to go last because you just did your show on this and you've been very.
I'm going to show a clip, the little 40-second clip to take me out. So you can have it now or then. It's up to you.
To another place. No, I'm going to take this right now, and then you end it up. So the last statement is, we mentioned the Mississippi miracle as so called, but what Mississippi has done and Louisiana has done, who have demonstrated that they did not have stagnation on their literacy. They kept up very high literacy and have not faced not just the stagnation, but the extreme lowering of scores, is exactly what the four of us said. Really, Jubilee marked it well. High literacy standards, emphasizing phonics, training teachers, holding teachers accountable. I love what Doc said. Get the kids and the teachers in the game. They've got to be players in the game. I thought that was so eloquently said. Mississippi has done it, and they have found that has had extraordinary results. And I got to tell you, we have been talking about this since podcast 1, but this is something that I think has been a very large scale awakening, is how has the lowering of expectations now affected kids who otherwise would not have been affected, that we've been affected this whole time. Doc, take us out.
Oh yeah, no problem. Let me see if I can get this up there right. Ask your child for their proficiency data. Can you guys hear okay? Parents, ask your child's school for their proficiency data. Don't settle for generalities like they're doing fine. Ask for proof. Ask for clarity. Get up there. You don't have to just only look at the standardized tests. your child's English teacher should be able to assess what their reading level is. If not, you don't have a quality teacher in that classroom. And if you're a teacher, commit to transparency. Share the data. The data is your friend. The data is your sword. The data is your hug. Use it to be your conversation starter. Use it as the tool that makes teaching move from being a job to a vocation. And that's all I got, man. That's it for Jubilee, Omar, and David, and everybody out there. We ain't being fair, but we trying to help you survive, and hopefully we can move to thriving. This has been another episode of South Star Classroom. We will see you all next week, same bad time, same bad station. Take care of yourself.
Shout out to Bill Conrad on that high stakes pun. That was pretty good, Bill. Thanks,
you know,
buddy.
actually, as we go out, Bill, we all need to reinforce this good behavior. Bill, we all think you did really, really well today.
You did well today, man. You did really well. Yeah.
Yes.
Shout out.
Bill, y'all have a good one. See you next time. Peace.
Later, y'all.